Hey guys, Sean from Bantam Overland. Today we are happy to introduce our newest plug-and-play bundle featuring the Sony XM-GS4. This bundle will come with everything needed to install it into your 2007 to 2018 Jeep JK. This Sony amplifier is a 4, 3, or 2-channel amplifier, meaning that you can power all 8 of your speakers. The Sony amplifier is 70 by 4 and it is high-res certified. The high-res certification means that it will play higher into the frequency range and give you all the sound that you're wanting to hear. So let's go over this Sony amplifier bundle and what you'll get. First, you'll get the XM-GS4 4-channel amplifier, the Stinger 4-gauge power wire with ends already terminated, Stinger 6-channel RCAs, Stinger 4-gauge ground wire, again already pre-terminated, as well as the Bantam Overland plug-and-play harness. Now, in this particular package, we are using it with a Sony 9000 as well as a Maestro radio harness. So in this current configuration, we have the plug-and-play Maestro ends. Some of the advantages of using the Sony XM-GS4, small and compact design. You have all of your power and speaker wire and RCA connections on one side, so you can keep them nice and hidden and away from feet. This amplifier goes perfect with our brand new 8-speaker Sony GS bundle, as well as any of our Sony plug-and-play head unit bundles. Adding an amplifier to your Jeep system will increase your sound, increase the quality of the music you're listening to, as well as give you the ability to actually hear it when your top and your doors are off. So let's go over the tools necessary to complete this installation. First, we're going to start with a powered screwdriver or impact gun, a Phillips head bit, a 7mm small socket wrench, a pair of dikes or side cutters, some wire ties, a battery operated light, some electrical tape, an assortment of panel poppers and pry tools, a handheld Phillips screwdriver, and either a big impact or a larger socket and an 18mm socket to remove your passenger seat. You'll need some sort of wire fish as well as something to protect the fender from the mirror once the doors open. So now that we've gone over all the tools, we can go to the Jeep and start the disassembly. So first thing we need to accomplish is removing our radio. To do that, we need to remove a couple of panels as well as 4 screws. We're going to remove the lower panel below the steering column. That will reveal 2 screws. We'll need to remove the window switch, or in some cases you'll have a pocket that will have 1 screw behind it, as well as on top of the dash, we'll remove our plastic insert and there'll be 1 up there. So let's get going with that. So to remove this lower panel, just gently pull and lift out. That will reveal these 2 7mm. So those 2 are out. Once those 2 are removed, you're going to grab your either plastic or metal panel popper, gently stick underneath the pocket or the window switch, pull out, then you're going to push and release, setting that safely out of the way. And there is 1 screw on the inside. Go ahead and remove that. And then the last one is on top of the dash. Just remove the insert and remove the 1 screw on top. Now that we've gotten all of our bolts out of our dash, it's time to remove that top part of the dash. So I like to just put my steering wheel down, lock it back in, and just gently pull it out, releasing it all the way, lifting it up, and just getting it up and out of my way. Once we remove the dash, it'll reveal the 4 bolts holding in the radio. So Once we get these 4 bolts out, the radio will come out. We'll also need to remove the glove box to run any wires. So let's get that all done now. So now all 4 bolts are out. We can gently lay our radio to the side. And to remove the glove box, just drop your glove box down, push in, and then pull and remove. Next thing we're going to do is grab our Bantam Overland plug-and-play harness for Maestro compatible radios and the 6-channel RCAs to drop them behind the dash, behind the glove box, and down onto the floor. So now the radio is out. We have our RCAs, our Maestro connections, and our remote lead accessible. So we're going to grab our Bantam Overland Maestro compatible plug-and-play harness, get this run, as well as our 6-channel RCAs. So first, on our glove box side, we're going to go in and up through behind the metal plate if it is still there, and start getting this plugged in. So our remote lead will go male into the female side of the back side of our Maestro, making sure it's completely plugged in and covered. On our Maestro, we will unplug the white and green, leaving this side off, and we will use ours because it is male and female. So we will plug our green in, and then we will plug our white in. So that will actually give us our output to our speaker wires. Confirm and double check our RCAs. We have our rear RCAs, our front RCAs, and our subwoofer RCAs. Now again, this is just a 4-channel amp. We're kind of running the 6-channel RCAs preemptively for the subwoofer. So on your Stinger RCAs, there's going to be a tag that says connect to source that will go towards your aftermarket head unit. So run these the same way, making sure we get behind the metal plate. So also on these Stinger RCAs, you're going to notice a F, an R, and an S. F front, R rear, S subs. So just make sure you plug them in correctly. So I'm going to grab my first set. Front, red will plug into red, and the clear will plug into white. We'll grab the rear set of RCAs. Once again, red will plug into red, clear to white. And on this one, again, we won't be using the subwoofer in this install, but since they're here, we're going to plug them in, and you can plug them in. If you have red and white, plug them into red and white. This one, they're both black, so we'll just plug them in. So we'll give a little pull, make sure everything can fit in, and then you can go ahead and start placing the head unit back into the dash, making sure everything fits behind the metal structure. So then we can go ahead and start putting our screws back in. We'll hold off and replace the dash last. So we got all 4 of our screws started, and we can just go ahead and hold it. So now our radio's back in, we can go ahead and start running the RCAs and the speaker wire, and then we'll get into running the power wire next. Now we're on the passenger side. We have removed our seat just for the video to give you a little bit better view. Seat does not need to be removed, but you will need to at least lift it up. To fully remove the seat from your Jeep, you'll need to remove the 4 18mm bolts using an impact gun or socket wrench and unplug 1 or 2 plugs from underneath the seat, depending on your model year. So we have our RCA and our speaker wires. We're going to drop them back through the bottom of the glove box area and leave them here. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now you do have some mechanicals back there that you need to stay away from. So we'll go ahead and get those dropped down. There we go, pull this through. And drop our RCAs down. Get them pulled through. Now the only thing you're going to want to be careful about is on the inside of your glove box, making sure we keep it away from the arm that opens and closes the fresh air box. So, and we'll go back through and wire tie everything once we get our power wire run. Now that we have our RCAs and our speaker wire dropped behind the glove box, we're going to go ahead and remove our door sill so that we can gain access to the wire track behind it. So for that, grab your panel popper, gently remove the first popper. The second one is a little bit harder. You just have to be very, very gentle, kind of get it popped up. And then removed, and then you're going to gently pull out and slide up, and then to remove it. Now you'll notice that there are 2 buttons, 2 lock buttons that will help hold that on. Just want to make sure that they came off with the panel. If not, they will be stuck onto the pin. There's one here, and then there is one back at the back corner. Just pull them off, stick those back in. Now that that's off, we can go ahead, move to running the power wire, and I'll show you how to do that next. We have our hood up, have our area. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go on the passenger side. We're going to remove the 2 holders here by just gently pulling them up, getting them out of the way. Now underneath this piece of carpet or felt, you'll lift that and pull that back, and you'll notice an area which has like some butyl rubber tape. Now we already have a hole in there because we've run stuff in and out of there before, but it is right here. So what you'll do is take a small razor knife, a small screwdriver, just poke a little hole down in through it, right there. So then what you're gonna wanna do is take your fish tape or your long wire tie or hanger and just gently slide that into there. Now it should fall, for the most part, straight down. You may get hung up on something, just wiggle until you can feel it go all the way down. So now we've got our wire fish into the vehicle. We're gonna grab our power wire. Now our kit comes complete, so we're gonna wanna remove the rubber cover from the fork side and place it on our wire fish, and then tape it directly to, so we can feed that all the way in to our vehicle. So then just gently fish that in, and then you can go in and finish pulling it into the vehicle. Now you want to be careful that it doesn't get stuck on anything, but you can push it from the outside, you can pull it from the inside. Just be cautious of the actual wire itself. Go ahead finish this. And leave about that much out so we can attach and then attach it to the battery. So now that this is pretty much run, we'll come back to this once we get all of our other wires run and hooked up to our amplifier. So now that the power wire is run and in the vehicle, it's time to do some wire management. So we have our wire ties as well as our side cutters. So I'm going to start by securing the power wire towards the inside of the door along the factory wiring harness, and we're going to end up right underneath the seat right in the middle here. So first, grab a couple wire ties. Now you want to just be careful not to be in the way of either of the pins that will hold the kick panel on. Start with 3 for now, and then go ahead and cut the ends of those off. Next, we'll go ahead and wire tie our RCA and speaker wires out of the way, making sure that they don't hit the arm that controls the fresh air. So just reach in. Now there is a wire that is on that controller. Just wire tie to that, and then cut the additional off. So now we need to run both our RCAs and our speaker wire. So running wires in your Jeep really is a personal preference depending on how you like things to look. We try to give you enough wire to accomplish it in many different ways. So personally for me, I like to tape the RCAs and the speaker wires together just a little bit, just to kind of keep them together and in a nice form. So I'm going to throw some electrical tape on my wires just to keep them all together every couple of inches or so. But again, this doesn't need to be done. Completely a personal preference. That should be good. So you can run down the transmission tunnel in front of the seat and then in, completely up to you. For this installation, I think I'm going to run it down the transmission tunnel in front and then back over, just so I can get rid of a little of the extra wire. So for that, lift up on your carpet, pull that out of the way. We're going to get that in there. Get our carpet back down, just keeping that out of the way. There we go. Now we'll want to pop off the retaining clip for the carpet and lift that up. Get this down. In front. And then making the turn next to the power wire. And then now we have, let's go ahead and wire tie that all down, just making it look pretty. Cut off the extra, get all of our wire through. Again, running it with the factory wiring. And another wire tie here. Just keeping it all in place. Like that. Cut that off. So now we have our power, our speaker and remote, as well as our RCAs. Next, we will go ahead and do the ground wire. So there is a 10mm bolt to the factory ground. So we can go ahead and remove that 10mm bolt. Removing the bolt. Now I would suggest remove the factory ground, put your amp ground on first, then go ahead and replace the bolt, replacing that factory ground as well, and then tighten it up. So once that's tightened up, you can just get that ground into the general area of where we're going to want it. So like that. Once that's all done, we can... So now we can go ahead and grab our amplifier and get it into the approximate position. So we're going to want to remove the 2 screws on the top, covering the controls as well as all the power and speaker plugs. So once the top is off, we have access to all of our controls as well as all of our connection points. So we can begin by connecting our power and our ground. So ground is in the first position, constant or battery power is in the second position, and the remote is in the third position. Go ahead and get our ground in, tighten that down. Then we can get our power hooked up, and you're still not hooked up to the battery yet. You want to leave that for one of the last things you're going to do. So then we're going to grab our speaker wire, grab our blue wire, which is our remote wire, get that plugged in and tighten down. So then on this amplifier, the front speakers are going to be closer to my side. The rear speakers are going to be closer to the power side, and we have left on this side, right on this side. So we'll go ahead and get our 2 greens and our 2 purples. So we have our left and right rear. So just confirming, we have negative here and positive here. And then on the left side, we have negative and positive. We can go ahead and get those tightened down. And then for the front, it will go the same, except for you're going to use gray and white. So I have right negative, right positive, white negative, or left negative and left positive. Get those tightened down. Make sure they're in. Now that they're all in, we'll just go back through. Make sure they're all tight. Once we've confirmed they're all tight, we can grab our RCAs. Now again, there's an S, an R, and an F. We're going to use the R and the F, and we're going to just put a little bit of tape on the ones for the subwoofer just to cover them up, make sure they don't ground out, don't make any noise. So then we're going to take our front RCAs, which are the first set, plug in the clear to the white, red to the bottom, and then our rear RCAs, same thing, red to red, clear to white. So now we have a good bit of wire still left over. We'll go ahead and get that cleaned up, get that all nice and neat, and then we can go to the front of the vehicle and hook up your power. So let's get all this wire cleaned up and do that. So zip ties are your friends. Just keep everything nice and neat as best to your ability. So extra power wire, I'm gonna run up and hide this way. Again, however you want to run it, it's completely personal choice, but get that all run. Once that's run, go ahead and put the factory carpet back down, securing it again with the pin, and you can do any final touch up to the wiring now. So before we mount the amplifier down, we're going to go ahead, hook up the battery, and give it some juice and take a quick listen, make sure everything's working, all the speakers, and go from there. So now it's time to hook our 4-gauge power wire up to the battery. Once again, Jeeps have tons of stuff on the battery, so they're all going to be a little bit different. Ours is pretty stock right now, so I'm going to show you how I would do it in that case. So we have our power wire coming out. We're going to go ahead and grab 2 zip ties right to the factory harness. One about there, the other one on the other side. So make sure everything's back on, tighten them up. Go ahead and cut any of the excess off. And then you want to roll those down. Those will cut your fingers. Now that we've got our fuse holder wire tied in, go ahead and route our power wire to our battery terminal. So in that case, 10 millimeter, get that off. Pop that off. Now you're going to get a spark. And then go ahead and put that right back on. Tighten it back down. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then just go ahead and tie up any extra or loose power wire. Trim that off. So now that's out of the way, nice and tight. Get one more up there, just to be safe. Trim that off. Push that down, there we go. Now that that's done, we can go to our amplifier, check over all our settings, and give it an initial listen. So let's go over some of the settings on the Sony amplifier. On the front side, we have subsonic filter, high pass, off and low pass. We have our gain or level control, as well as a low boost. So for this application, we're going to switch it to high pass, and we're going to set our filter at about 80 hertz. And what that'll do is it'll allow everything above 80 hertz to pass through, and anything below it'll block. So if we were wanting to use the subsonic filter or the low pass, we would be using it more for like a subwoofer. So as far as our level, we're going to go ahead and start at about 12 o'clock, so about halfway. Low boost, we're not going to do anything with. Now onto the rear, same filters as on the front stage. So we have our low boost, our gain or level control, our low pass, high pass, and off, as well as our filter and our subsonic. The nice thing about this amplifier is you can use it as a 4-channel, a 3-channel, or a 2-channel. So if you were using it in a 3-channel situation, you would do your front speakers on the front, and then you could do a subwoofer on the rear. In this case, we're just using it as a regular 4-channel amplifier. So we're going to go ahead and switch the filter to high pass, and then put our filter at about, once again, 80 hertz, since they are both the same set of speakers, front and rear. And our level, we're going to put also at 12 o'clock. So now that that's set, what we can do is we can go ahead, take a listen, double check for our balance and fade, that being correct, and then we can go ahead and actually put on a song and hear the difference between an aftermarket radio power and an aftermarket amplifier power. Amps all installed, everything's wired up. Now it's time to give it a test. Make sure we have our correct balance and fade, as well as where we have our gain set. So let's go ahead, turn the Jeep on, and give it a listen. Okay, let me play some music here. So left front, left rear, right rear, and right front. So our balance and fade is correct. So now we're going to give it a little bit of volume and make sure we don't hear any popping or cracking of the new speakers when we turn it up. So let's do that now. I think we're good all the way up to volume 30. Didn't hear any popping, didn't hear any cracking. What I did hear is a significant increase in volume over just using the aftermarket Sony radio in comparison to using the amp. So now we can go ahead and get everything back together and give it a real test. Once you're satisfied with all the controls on your amp being set and your balance and fade and everything is correct, you can go ahead and screw your amplifier down. Now it comes with 4 screws in the box. You can use those once your amplifier is screwed down. You can take your cover plate to go back over to the controls, place that back on, screw that back in. Now, if you're installing this with a set of new speakers, you might want to be a little bit careful and turn the gain controls down just a hair, just to allow those speakers to break in, give you better sound in the long run. Now that our amplifier is screwed in and our top plate is screwed on, we can go ahead and put on our sill plate. So just remember to have those 2 back in there. Slide it in. You're going to just gently lift up on that. Slide that under. Put that under. Should hear a click, knowing those are clicking in. And then we can grab our pins. Pin in back here. So now that that's on, we can go ahead and grab the glove box. Get the glove box put in. With the glove box, we're just lining it up, pushing in, and then closing. So that's all done. Everything's back together. Now we just have to put the dash on and finish screwing that back in, as well as putting our window switch or our pocket back in. So grab our dash piece. Make sure everything's lined up. Push in, push in. Now we can put our steering wheel back up. Then we'll start with the one up top. And then we'll put the one in the window switch. And we can go ahead and throw our window switch back in, making sure to push the tab back down to lock it. So now it's locked. Make sure you hear that click. Then we have 2 more underneath. Get those in. And there's 2. So now our dash is back on. We can grab our insert, drop that back in, And then our lower panel, just into the slots, up and locked in. So now that everything's back together, we can go ahead and turn it back on, see how she sounds. Make sure we're 100% happy. Everything sounds great. Super happy with the amount of extra volume I get just by adding a 4-channel amplifier. You may need a little bit of bass and treble through your head unit. It's like salt and pepper to taste. So listen to a couple of different forms of music, the radio. If you have a CD player, listen to a CD, satellite radio, Pandora, so on and so forth, just to get all of your adjustments set in just right. The Sony 4-channel amplifier we just installed, paired with our Sony GS speakers, are a wonderful upgrade to our Jeep JK. So if you would like to hear your stereo while you're driving to the beach with your doors and your roof off, check out this great Sony bundle or any of our other bundles at bantamoverland.com. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, have a blast out there.